You know, life has a way of changing in the blink of an eye, doesn't it? One day, you and your spouse are making plans, maybe a vacation, visiting the grandkids, or just enjoying a quiet evening together. And then, suddenly, everything shifts. Losing the person you've shared your life with is one of the hardest things any of us will ever face. And in those first days, weeks, even months, it's easy to feel lost, like the ground beneath you isn't steady anymore. Now, I want you to know that whatever you're feeling is okay. Grief doesn't follow a rulebook. But while your heart is healing, there are some practical things to keep in mind. Because in the midst of that grief, it's all too easy to make decisions that might not be the best for you down the road. And that's what we're going to talk about today. If your spouse passes first, there are 5 dangerous mistakes that can make an already difficult time even harder. Some of these might surprise you. Others, you may already sense deep down. But my hope is that by the end of this, you'll feel a little more prepared, a little more supported, and most of all, a little less alone. So let's start with the first mistake, and this one comes up more often than you'd think. Mistake number 1, making big financial decisions too quickly. When you lose your partner, especially if they handled most of the finances, it's easy to feel overwhelmed. Bills, bank accounts, investments, it's a lot to sort through. And in that stress, some people make quick decisions, like withdrawing large sums of money, selling property, or even lending to family members without thinking it through. Now, I get it. You might want to simplify things, or you're worried about making ends meet. But here's the thing, grief clouds judgment. What feels urgent today might not be the best choice 6 months from now. I've seen folks rush into selling their home because the memories are too painful, only to regret it later when they realize they weren't ready. Or they let a well-meaning relative take over finances without proper safeguards, and things get messy. So what can you do instead? Give yourself time. Unless there's a true emergency, like an immediate bill that must be paid, wait. Find someone you trust, whether it's a financial advisor, a grown child, or a close friend, and let them help you look at the big picture. You don't have to figure everything out today. Mistake number 2, isolating yourself from others. This one is so easy to fall into. When you're grieving, the world can feel like it's moving too fast. Friends might not know what to say, or maybe they keep their distance because they don't want to intrude. And so, without meaning to, you start turning down invitations, skipping your usual gatherings, and spending more and more time alone. But here's the hard truth. Isolation makes grief heavier. It's like sitting in a room with the curtains drawn. The sadness has nowhere to go. Now, I'm not saying you need to force yourself into big social events if you're not ready. But even small connections matter. A phone call with an old friend, a short visit from a neighbor, sitting on a bench at the park just to be around people. You might not feel like it at first, and that's okay. But try to take one tiny step. Because the people who care about you, they want to be there. They just might not know how. And that leads us right into our next mistake, which we'll talk about in just a moment. Because this one can sneak up on you when you least expect it. You know, grief has a way of making even the simplest things feel heavy. And sometimes, when we're hurting, we do things, or avoid doing things, without even realizing why. That's why the next mistake is so important to talk about, because it's one that can quietly make everything else harder. Mistake number 3, neglecting your health, body and mind. When your world has been turned upside down, it's easy to let the basics slip. Maybe you forget to take your medication because your spouse was the one who always reminded you. Or you stop cooking proper meals because it doesn't feel worth it just for yourself. Maybe you've been sleeping too much, or not sleeping at all. And here's the thing, grief takes a real, physical toll. Stress can weaken your immune system. Lack of sleep can make everything feel even harder. Skipping meals or relying on convenience food can leave you with even less energy than you already have. Now, I'm not saying you need to run a marathon or overhaul your whole routine, but small things matter. Set one reminder on your phone for medications. Buy pre-cut vegetables or healthy frozen meals so eating isn't a chore. And if you're struggling to sleep, talk to your doctor. Don't just assume it's part of getting older. And let's not forget your emotional health. Some people try to stay strong by bottling up their feelings, but that's like shaking a soda can. Eventually, the pressure has to go somewhere. If you don't have someone to talk to, consider a grief support group. Many are free and meet online now. Or even just writing down your thoughts in a notebook can help. Your health isn't just about living longer. It's about living better, even on the hard days. Mistake number 4, letting others pressure you into decisions. This one is tough because it often comes from people who genuinely care about you. Well-meaning family might say, "You should move closer to us," or "Sell the house. It's too much for you." Friends might push you to clean out your spouse's closet before you're ready, or donate their belongings because it's time. But here's the truth. No one else knows what's right for you in this moment. What feels like help to them might feel like losing another piece of your spouse to you. And if you say yes to something just to keep the peace, you might regret it later. So how do you handle this? It's okay to say, "I'm not ready to decide that yet," or "I need to think about it." You don't owe anyone an explanation. If someone keeps pushing, try, "I know you're trying to help, but this is something I need to do in my own time." And if you're feeling really pressured, it might help to have a buffer person, someone you trust who can step in and say, "Let's give her some space on this." Because here's what matters. This is your life, your grief, and your healing. No one else gets to set the timeline. Now, the last mistake we're going to talk about today is one that doesn't get mentioned enough, but it can make all the difference in how you find your way forward. You know, after losing someone you love, the world doesn't just pause. Life keeps moving, bills keep coming, and people keep asking questions, even when all you want is time to just be. And in the middle of all that, it's easy to forget one of the most important things, yourself. That brings us to our final mistake, and it's one so many of us make without even realizing it. Mistake number 5, forgetting that your story isn't over. When you've spent decades sharing your life with someone, it's hard to imagine what comes next. Maybe you catch yourself thinking, "This isn't how it was supposed to be," or "What's left for me now?" And in that heartache, it's easy to start believing that your best days are behind you. But here's what I want you to hear. Your life still matters. Not just as someone's spouse, or parent, or grandparent, but as you. The you who loves certain songs, or hates celery, or laughs at silly jokes. The you who still has moments left to live, even if they look different than you planned. Now, I'm not saying it's easy. Some days will feel impossible, and that's okay. But little by little, you can find your way forward. Maybe it's picking up an old hobby you set aside years ago. Maybe it's saying yes to coffee with a friend even when you don't feel like it. Or maybe it's just sitting outside in the sun and letting yourself feel whatever you need to feel. There's no right way to do this, but the one wrong way, believing there's nothing left for you. Closing thoughts. So let's take a breath and remember what we've talked about. Don't rush big financial decisions. Give yourself time. Don't pull away from people. Even small connections help. Take care of your health. Your body and mind need you. Don't let others pressure you. This is your journey. And most of all, don't forget that your story isn't over. Grief isn't something you get over. It's something you learn to carry. And some days, that weight will feel lighter than others. But through all of it, you're still here. And that means there's still love to give, memories to cherish, and yes, even joy to find in ways you might not expect yet. So be gentle with yourself. Take it one day at a time. And if you ever need a reminder that you're not alone, come back to this video or leave a comment below. I'd love to hear what's on your heart. And if this helped you today, share it with someone who might need it too. Because none of us should have to walk this road alone. Until next time, remember this. You're still needed, you're still loved, and your life still has meaning. Here's to taking the next step, whatever that looks like for you.